authenticity, specificity are really, really important. And those are the things that are going to resonate with other people.
You speak of the reality that people just want to be seen and heard. And so you can have relatable pieces and relatable stories. In terms of making sure that you maintain an ownership stake in the work that you present, how does Murder Inc. as a company approach the conversations once you have finished products, you have the interest from people in the likes of Netflix, you have multiple successful launches of film products? Like, how do you have that conversation around keeping your access to not just residuals, but also making sure that no matter where the pieces go, that the credits are clear and that ownership is maintained?
Well, that's a that's a huge challenge. That is a huge challenge in this business. It's something we continue to fight for, and unfortunately, that only comes with having done more things and having had more success. Because initially, it's so hard just to get something made, and just getting something made. Like, you can work on something and it might not have your name on it, and you have to kind of like put in that time. And then even if you do, like, just getting something produced, your influence and being able to, I remember one of our first movies we were making, like, the producer was saying, like, if you're able to get 50 to 60% of what you initially wrote or had in mind on the screen, then that's a success. And it's difficult because, you craft these stories and you curate these worlds, and like, it's like your baby, and you want to, make sure that your vision and your voice is what's being seen on the screen. But this is also a very collaborative medium, and there's going to be other people that have opinions. Like, executives are going to have opinions, producers are going to have opinions, the directors are going to have their opinions, and you have to find a way to work together. And like, a goal for Murder Inc. and something we're doing is wanting to produce, move it, as we grow as not just a writing team but a production company, so we can produce and have our hands as much as possible on the final outcome. But that's just something that comes with time and success of having put out a couple of things. But it's something we fight for with all of our projects, and it also depends on how things come to you. So, like, we might get an OWA, which is like an open writing assignment. So if a production company or a studio approaches us with a piece of material, then obviously we don't have as much ownership of that. So they're like, we're going to hire you guys to work on this idea that we already have, or this piece of IP that we already own. So from that, in that way, you don't have as much control. But if it's something that we've come up with and we're writing something on spec, it's our own original idea. Like with Homecoming, we've had projects that we've been approached to do and we wrote, and obviously we fell in love with it, and then you kind of hand it off and like, okay, go with God and do what you do. But something like a Homecoming, where it's based on our friends, it's based on our experience, and we wrote it on spec, nobody paid us to write it. When we took it to the marketplace, we were very clear that we're not just handing this over. Anyone who wants to partner with us, who wants to make this with us, they have to understand that we're going to produce this, and we're going to be involved from start to finish in making sure that we're getting our exact vision out on screen. And luckily, we were able to do that with our producing partners in Mandeville and John Legend's company, Get Lifted, and it's set up at Lionsgate now, and they were very supportive of that.
Your mom talked about the move to St. Thomas kind of being her intentional Caribbean immersion for you, right? So that you could have such an environment. How do you think the Caribbean experience has affected your lens and outlook on just material that is presented, right? You're engaging with culturally Black material, whether it's in a comedic sense in The Trap, or it's, parts and parcel of Reality High, and now fully present in Homecoming. You're engaging with material that often calls for you to kind of be the point of reference for Blackness.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are able to talk about how the Blackness as defined here and maybe stateside, and then the experience in the Caribbean have influenced how you show up?
Uh, well, I think my experience in the Caribbean, it definitely moves with me and stays with me in every, the same way you said, in the way you move through the world. It was such a huge part of who you are. And I think moving to St. Thomas when I was 12, those were such formative years. So I was there from 12 to 18. And as much as, I moved to an island that's 98% Black, it was a culture shock. It was a big culture shock coming from LA. We were coming directly from Pennsylvania because my mom was in law school. And so we were in Pennsylvania for like a year and a half. And then in her second year, she decided she didn't want to pursue law anymore professionally. And she had lived in St. Thomas in the 70s. And she was a bit of a wanderlust. And she wanted me to experience the Caribbean. So we moved to St. Thomas. But I think having to navigate a new space, learning a new culture while learning myself, it's something that's just carried with me where like I'm able to, be put in new situations and see things from different perspectives and be really empathetic in terms of just, learning other cultures and learning other people and having to adapt. And I think that adaptability has helped me in my writing. So, like one of the things we want to tell universal stories, but from the perspective of people that look like us. So, sometimes when writing assignments come to us, there might be something that I might not initially be drawn to, but I'm able to pull from my life experience or find something else within the story or within the characters to kind of pull from. And then, all of my experiences will kind of go into shaping those worlds.
How do you navigate the need to have some version of the story told and the desire for accuracy in the presentation and representation of certain characters?
Mhm. Uh, I think the main thing for me and my writing team, it all starts with authenticity. So you have to be authentic to the story you want to tell. You have to be authentic to the characters. And there was, during the pandemic, and unfortunately with everything that happened with George Floyd and everyone being home and just being forced to focus on what was happening, there was this kind of like trendy uptick in wanting to be supportive and support emerging voices from this community and things told through this lens, which was stuff that was the stuff that we had always been doing. But I think that, even beyond that, like we're 2 years out of it now, and people aren't really, there were these company lines in terms of wanting to tell these specific types of stories. And it was like something that people felt like they had to do. But, we had always been in that space. And, it just, again, authenticity, specificity are really, really important. And those are the things that are going to resonate with other people. So even if like Homecoming, you didn't have to necessarily go to an HBCU, you didn't necessarily have to be familiar with, the places and things we're talking about, but everyone, there are universal themes like friendship and second chances and, having an opportunity to do something over. And, those are the kind of things that, we try and do in our writing in terms of just being authentic. And I think people from any community or wherever can gravitate to that and relate to it.